After upgrading my computer and buying, well, what turned out being a lot of new parts, I realized that I switched from AMD as far as processor goes. I went from AMD to Intel, and I switched from an AMD graphics card to NVIDIA. And in doing so, I realized a lot of Hackintoshes work much better with Intel and NVIDIA because, you know, that's what Apple uses. Turns out I have an old Apple laptop that doesn't work anymore. And I don't think it's because of the hard drive. I think what I'm going to do is take this Apple hard drive out of my old computer and put it into my new computer today and try to get that up and running. And I think that'd be pretty cool to have a pretty much a brand new Windows 10 machine, because I just kind of upgraded everything and trying to figure out what was wrong with my computer. And then on top of it, I can take a hard drive from my Apple laptop that hasn't worked for like probably about 7 or 8 months and maybe be able to use that again with better hardware on top of it. So I think that'll be a pretty cool thing to do today. Yeah.
Let me lay a great time on you. Don't hesitate, no, don't you? No, just say you will.
So it's about an hour and a half. It's about an hour to 2 hours later. I was able to go to the store, I was able to hit the gym. Now I think I'm actually going to get to taking the old hard drive out of my old MacBook Pro that is currently collecting dust. And since I upgraded, like I showed you in my previous video, from the FX 8320 and the AMD R9 270X to an i5 4690K, as well as a Zotac branded NVIDIA 970. I mean, it's a little bit of an older upgrade, but I just wanted something to hold me over till I really build my new computer system. With switching over to those, I believe, and I guess we'll find out through this video, I believe it makes it much easier. I don't even know if it's possible the other way, but I believe it makes it much easier to try to get Mac OS to run on those parts. In doing so, I'm going to take the hard drive that has the Mac OS on it and try to kind of have like a dual boot system over on my current computer down here. So that's what I'm going to try to do today. Right off the bat, this isn't like a sponsor or anything like that, as you can probably tell with not having any subscribers whatsoever. But I'm all about what iFixit does, but they're set to include pretty much the same tools as this. Costs like 60 bucks, and this one costs like, I think it was like 20 bucks. I'll throw a link down in the description. So I've actually taken this apart, so I'm actually missing, I think, like two or three screws. I'm missing one right there. Yeah, I'm doing better than I thought, actually. I'm only missing one. I mean, obviously the first part of this is going to be taking out the hard drive from my old MacBook Pro. What's nice about this set also is it's magnetic into this part right here. And it's also magnetic for the screws themselves, so it's really easy to pick them out and use them that way. Quick tip, you always want to grab some sort of bowl or something to hold the screws into so that you don't drop them on the floor. So I'm going to grab this guy right here, and I'm just going to toss the screws into that as I take them out. Then once you take all those screws out on this guy, it's actually not that difficult at all. Once you take the screws out, the whole back plate just kind of pops off. Like I said, I've done this a bunch of times before with this, so I don't know. I can't remember if there's any sort of adhesive or anything that's holding it there. But I think once you take those initial, how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, once you take those initial 10 screws out, of the 2012 MacBook Pro, the whole thing just pops off, which is something that you don't really see a whole lot of anymore. Like I said, I'm just grabbing the hard drive for today. I've replaced the RAM before, which I thought was the issue with this. So to take the hard drive out of this guy, there's 2 screws right beside it, and check that out. It's right at the top part of the hard drive, so you're gonna take those 2 off. And then it's actually like a little bar here. If you can see, that's what's holding the hard drive in place. I'm just gonna set everything in that bowl for now. This little tab right here that you can pull off, and don't pull it too high because you got a ribbon cable with the SATA and the power going to the hard drive. So that actually just kind of slides out like that. And then I have my Mac hard drive. I currently have Windows 10 on this SSD right here. And what I'm gonna do is just plug this Mac hard drive into the spot where that's at and see if I'm able to get it to boot up onto this. I'm guessing no, but I don't really have any experience with building a Hackintosh. I've built numerous PCs, but I've never built anything like a Hackintosh. So I'm just gonna see if I can just plug it in. Chances are no, but I'm gonna give it a shot anyways. So I'm just gonna try to boot it up. We'll just see what we get at least. So I don't know how the hell it's booting into Windows 10 right now. Well, you know what? Pretty sure I have Windows 10 on that. I have Windows 10 on that hard drive as well as Mac OS. That's interesting. Okay, I'm gonna have to see how we're gonna be able to do this. This website seems to kind of tell you what components you can use. It's called TonyMacX86.com. I'll link it down in the description for you if you want to follow along with it, but it shows you what parts you're actually able to use to make a Hackintosh system. And it looks like they actually have a full installation guide there as well. So we got to create a bootable USB with UniBeast. So you actually have to create an account at TonyMacX86.com in order to use the software that they have for you to make a bootable Mac drive. So since it's actually much more difficult to install the Mac OS software onto a bootable USB through Windows, I'm taking my girlfriend's Mac, getting OS High Sierra, I think is what it's called. Through that, I hope to be able to transfer that onto the hard drive that I have from my previous MacBook Pro. And we're gonna go that route to see if I'm able to get it to boot up that way instead of using a Windows 10 machine, which is much more difficult. I kind of just followed the recommendations of how to install the OS software onto a USB with UniBeast. So this is the installed software. I'm gonna plug this into my computer and hopefully I'm able to boot into the Mac OS software things on my PC, so we're gonna give that a shot. I'm just gonna turn this on. Hopefully I'm able to go into the boot settings and open up this bootable Mac drive. Typically the boot menu is like F12 or F11 or something. I don't know why it did that. Is it F12 or F10? Oh, F11. So we're gonna go into this UEFI built-in, oh wait, no, that's not what I want. We're gonna go into the SanDisk Cruiser, which should have OS, or Mac OS on it. Welcome to Clover 4297. Okay, so now I guess it's gonna say it's opening up Clover. Welcome to Clover 4297. So then you're gonna pick whichever one you're going to put it onto, I believe. Okay, so we're gonna boot OS X install from an external USB, I believe. Now check that out. You see that? We'll see if we're able to get that to keep working. So like I said, this is the first time I've ever done anything like this. So I'm kind of just going to share my experiences with it, and what you see here is kind of what I've gone through as far as setting it up. So I just removed my hard drives that I have associated with Windows because I don't really know if it'll try to install itself over another one of my hard drives that is in my system. As you can see behind me, I was finally able to boot into my old hard drive from my MacBook Pro, which you can see right here. However, I'm having some issues with the drivers. I don't know if you can see how it moves around, but it's very choppy. And if you go into something like Google Chrome, that should be very, very noticeable. So I'm having issues with this. What I saw online is you're supposed to use multi-beast. You can get the certain drivers depending on what you have in your system. So once you do that, it should work correctly. That's pretty much everything as far as trying to take an old hard drive from an Apple computer and putting it into a PC. So if you have any questions, let me know. And until next time.